Hello everybody, welcome to CS225 Programming Concepts. I'm Corey Willinger and I'm going to be your instructor for this course. So to get started, let's go over some of the course rules and how the course is going to be laid out. This course is about programming in C++. The syntax of C++ is very similar to that of Java. We will spend a little bit of time on learning a few of the syntax specifics, and then we'll focus more on algorithm development and object-oriented programming. Why do we want to learn C++ if we already know Java? Well, number one, we learn the basics of programming in our Java courses. Now we need to practice more on applying the basic programming concepts and developing algorithms. Number two, it's very common in IT that you work on several projects involving different languages at a time, and we need to be able to pick up new languages on the go. So we want to be able to translate those skills from one language to the next, and so each language that you pick up should take you less and less time. Number three, when you learn C++, you also understand C because C++ is built on the C language. And so that's why you'll often see C/C++, often mentioned in job ads. Furthermore, C++ is used in many system software and major application software. So by adding C++ to your resume, this is going to boost your marketability. So I encourage you to check out this website to see all the different places that C++ is used. Obviously, it's not all inclusive, but it's a good starting place. Because of the similarity between C++ and Java, we'll be going through the basics very quickly. Unit 1 covers input and output and control structures, while Unit 2 talks about structured design and how to break a program up into individual functions. And you should have already gotten a sample of this or a taste of it in CS151 or 152, but we're going to go into it more in depth. And Unit 3 talks about arrays and strings, which you should be mostly familiar with. And Unit 4, finally, we'll talk about pointers and structs. And this is something that's new to you, but not new to the C language. Unit 5 through 7 is going to cover object-oriented programming, inheritance, and polymorphism. Now, of course, again, by now, these concepts should not be new to you, but we're going to go over them again in more detail. And finally, Unit 8 is a comprehensive final exam, so no new material, we're just going to be taking the test. And your textbook source code is available at the following website, which will be, of course, posted on Canvas, so you don't have to copy this link down. So for each unit, you're going to be expected to read the assigned chapters, possibly watch these videos if you need the extra help, do the reading quiz to make sure that you comprehended the material that was presented, and then finally there's going to be a number of programming assignments that you're going to have to complete, all in addition to the exercises that we're going to do in class. Now, these videos are going to focus on the C++ features that are different from Java, or important concepts and new topics that maybe you haven't seen yet. These videos are not going to be all-inclusive, and you're not going to be able to get all of the information that you need for the course from these videos. So for complete content, you need to read the textbook chapters that are assigned for each unit. You may use any C++ compiler or IDE for this course. I'm going to be using Visual Studio 2019 Community Edition. I don't want to say it's easy to use, but it's fairly easy to use once you know what you're doing with it. But you really should use some kind of IDE or integrated development environment for your programming activities. It's good to get experience in these, and that they're highly used in industry, and so it helps to start getting familiar with the tools. And the tools can be very complicated, so you're going to spend a lot of time in this course working through the learning curve of working with the development environment. So the sooner you get started with that, the better and the easier it is. It's going to be as we progress through the course. But you can also see on Canvas, you can see the textbooks and materials page for additional details on how to acquire and install different IDEs. Again, I'm going to be using Visual Studio 2019 Community Edition. So if you use something different than that, just bear in mind that that's going to be on you to be able to figure that out and work it. And of course, you can download the Community Edition of Visual Studio for free from the Microsoft website or visualstudio.com, or you can use the Parks Virtual Lab through the Citrix server, and you can run it on a virtual machine and you don't have to install anything. So that's your choice, how you want to go about it. But again, I recommend installing the Visual Studio Community Edition just so you can get used to using it. Additionally, some of the screenshots that are in the slides might be from the 2017 edition. You can see up here it says 2017. So just be aware, there's not a whole lot of differences between 2017 and 2019, some upgrades. But by and large, the techniques for building your projects and compiling them is going to be virtually identical. So just be aware that there might be some slight differences in how you see things presented in the video. When you create a new project in Visual Studio, you should pick the empty project type. You'll be given an empty project shell for you to add your own source files to. One of the drawbacks of this project type is that the console window closes automatically and at the end of execution, so you may not get to see the results of your program. You can see the Use Visual Studio 2017 for C programming tutorial in the textbook and materials page for how to work around that. So you can see here that there's an option to go into the project menu and you can select the console and the subsystem drop down, or you can just add the system.pause to the end of it. Now in 2019, I haven't had any issues with the programs coming in or closing automatically, especially if you run it from the debug prompt instead of just running it. And we'll talk about this all once we get into the actual course and into the various units, but it's just something to be aware of. You should always select the empty project when you're starting up a new project. Now, you may be tempted to use the Window Console application, which you can see right here, which adds the driver file automatically for you, and you can see that as the console application 1.cpp file there. However, it also adds 3 additional files for precompiled headers, which is not standard C++ practice. So you can see the standard AFX CPP file here, and then you've got the 2 headers right here. If you choose to use this project type, you always need to include the standard FX in your code as the first line before any other includes. So you can see it like this. And again, we'll get into this as the course proceeds and we get into the subsequent units. But just be aware that if you choose this option, it kind of creates more headaches than what it solves. So for our programming, it's best if you just pick the empty project right here and not the Windows Console application. If you want more information about this, you can go to this website listed here and read up on why it's not a good idea to do it. Now you're going to be asked to follow some general coding styles in all of your programming assignments. This includes having file prologue comments, which include the name of your source code, your name, the purpose of it, description, so on and so forth. And of course you're going to be expected to comment your code properly, use appropriate variable naming, use consistent indentation, all of those things which you should have already gotten in your intro to programming courses. Additionally, you're not allowed to use namespace standard, and we'll talk about this once we get into the additional slides. But you're also going to want to include a screenshot of the execution to show the program results unless you're told you don't have to do it. Okay? So this is a bad example of a screenshot of your program execution. Notice how it includes the entire desktop. Okay? Now this is an older screenshot, obviously using Windows 7 or Vista or whatever. But the point is, I don't need to see your IDE along with the output. What I expect to see is this. Okay? Just give me a screenshot of the console itself. Now, for those of you that may not be the most prolific desktop screenshot clippers, whatever, there's a couple instructions for you on how to do that. So on Windows 7 and above, an easy way to do it is using the snipping tool. Okay, so you can either search for snipping or find it in the start menu, and of course here's a link to how to use it. Just Google it, right? Or you can also use the OneNote snipping tool on Windows 10 with the Shift Windows key and S. Okay, this is the one that I actually like to use, and it really now on Windows 10 it incorporates everything that the snipping tool did previously. So really this is kind of one of the nicer utilities for capturing screenshots. Additionally, if you're on a Mac, which I don't use, so you're on your own, but I have on good authority that you can use Command-Shift-3 to capture part of a screen, or you can use Command-Shift-4 to drag the crosshair and select the area that you want. Again, search the internet for how to take screenshots on your own device. Okay, let's talk about grades. 5% of your grade is participation. Show up to class, contribute, ask questions, help your classmates, so on and so forth. Easy 5%. Quizzes. These are done through Canvas. Again, they shouldn't be too terribly difficult as long as you're actually reading the book and participating in class. Programming assignments. These are 40% of your grade. And I'm not going to lie, the homework assignments can be challenging. You're going to want to allow yourself plenty of time to do the programming assignments. From years of teaching this, I can tell you you're going to need to allow 3 to 4 times the amount that you actually think it's going to take you to do the assignment. Okay? And then finally, our final exam is 35% of your grade. Now, if you need to take the CS225 data structures course, you need to have a C or better in this course to move on. So just keep that in mind. Now, as far as collaboration, I highly encourage collaboration. I have absolutely no problem with students helping one another to understand the concepts. But there's limits on that, okay? So as you can see here, explaining a concept to somebody or discussing algorithms or helping somebody debug their code, this is all okay stuff, right? What is not okay is copying code from somebody else or another website, or sharing code with another person, so on and so forth. You need to be able to understand the code that you're writing, and you need to be able to implement it on your own. If you're not, you're not going to pass the final exam. Okay? So it's one thing to try to get a good grade on the homework, but if you don't understand it well enough to duplicate it, then you're not going to do well. Okay? So again, it's okay to help somebody, or if somebody's having trouble with a certain section of their code, to help them walk through it or ask questions about what they're doing. I also ask that you document your collaboration in your header. Say, hey, I worked with so-and-so, so that way you can be honest and upfront and transparent about your collaboration. So that's it for the introduction. You can read additional pages listed in the Canvas module on additional course information, whatnot, what have you. The syllabus is listed there. I also encourage you to install a C compiler and try it out with a simple Hello World project. This is going to be absolutely critical for you as you progress into the units, that you understand how to create a program and run it and get all the bugs worked out of your workflow before you actually start on your homework. Okay, and of course we're going to go over some of this in class, but it's always good to do it on your own and see that way if you have questions and you can figure it out, you can do it there. So thank you.